Okay, hello, ARMS. I'm here with, my name is Dr. LaRoche, and I am here with Andrew Laurion, who is a local climate change hero. Hi, Andrew.
Yeah. How you doing, Doctor?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
So you've had a little bit of an introduction already to Andrew's work. And some of you got to do a workshop with Andrew this morning, but I'm just going to share a little bit about Andrew. So Andrew is part of the Northeast Organic Farming Association, also known as NOFA. He works in urban landscapes of Springfield to build community and grow healthy food for families. Dealing with contaminated soil and vacant lots while building community gardens can be expensive and make gardening in the city seem almost impossible. Andrew works closely with 2 youth programs in Springfield to conduct on-site trials of bioremediation techniques where heavy metal contamination and carbon-based pollutants are a concern and are removed from the soil. So I think some students got to do that with you this morning, Andrew. Is that right?
Yeah, we set some microbe traps to try to discover what's underneath our feet and introduce ourselves to the worlds of mycology and fungi.
Awesome. Thanks. So, Andrew, before we begin, I know you have a presentation. I just was hoping that you could tell the students a little bit about what brought you to this work.
Yeah, mostly what brought me to this work is a lifetime of just feeling for people, loving others, and just wondering why. Why is there people that are hungry out there? Why is there poverty? Why is there injustices? And not really understanding, the reasons for it. Because I see the world as a bountiful, plentiful place. That there should be enough food for everybody, clean air, clean water, shelter, arable land, and a relevant education for everybody. To me, gardening on a small scale, especially here in the city, is a good way to tackle those problems at the core. There's no better way to do it than through gardening in my eyes. That's what led me here to this work.
Thank you. I really appreciate your connection of the work to the community, and that's a big part, I know, of what you're going to be presenting and sharing what you have done, and giving students insights to ways that they might be able to also engage in this work. It's incredibly valuable. Teachers who are with students in classrooms, throughout the presentation, if you have questions that you want to type into the chat on YouTube, go ahead and do that. And Andrew will make sure that we have time to address them either during the presentation or at the end, but go ahead and put them in as they come up. So I'm going to be navigating the slides on my end while Andrew is talking. So at times he might tell me to forward the slides. So that's, we'll have a little bit of that as well. All right. So Andrew, I'm going to go ahead and start us up here.
Yeah, welcome to our project. So what we're doing is we're taking practical approaches to urban soils health and remediation. So in general, in a city, when we want to farm or think about farming and growing food, our space is limited. So the space that we do have, we want to make sure it's viable to grow in. A lot of times we deal with contaminants in the soils like lead from houses, hydrocarbons, oils, gases from cars and traffic. So we want to make sure that we're growing a lettuce or a collard green, that we're eating something healthy, not contaminants filled with heavy metals. So what we do is when we approach our sites, we want to look at them from many ways. We can go to the internet and go to Google and see the different maps that they show us, the different layers. As you can see, it gives a little contour to our map. You can see that there's an old garage broken down there. So we already know we have some rubble and some material that we might be concerned about in growing in this space. Here's another view of our lot. As you can see, it's right next to a housing complex. So with this amount of space to grow food in it and to claim it as a space of our own, you can see that there's many families that would benefit from this, just from the beauty of seeing the flowers outside or seeing change. Right now it's an open lot. There's signs that say do not enter, so the kids can't even play ball here or anything. So we have to determine what we're going to do with our open spaces in the city. This is a video walkthrough. We can skip this video. It's just showing us our plot, and we kind of marked it out to give us parameters and focus on where we're going to be doing this work. This slide right here, I'm gonna read it to you. The people, the place, and the way we feel are all a part of this remediation process. Okay, when we're thinking about remediation and fungi and soil science and all of this, you think about a lot of science things and research, and you don't realize that this is community. Like the people around us, what do they want to see here? Do they even want to see a garden? What kind of space do they want to feel? How do we feel working in the space as people are traveling by and seeing us do the work? All of that is very important in a remediation process to get the history of the place. What has happened here in our field? What has happened on this vacant lot previous to us trying to make it into a field of greens? When we come into our spaces, we like to document everything, because when we don't want to go and attack just what's wrong or what the problem is. We want to look at the healthy function. What is healthy on the soil? What is working? The weeds and the flowers and everything we find on our site, they're all telling us a story. And as you skip through this slide, you can see all the different plants that I bet a lot of you from New England will recognize. You got the violet there. You got some, I believe there's dock. And then we have the garbage. The realistic truth about working in the city is you're going to have people throwing stuff around, and it's important to document that too, to show change and show the space as somewhere that we value, and people will be less likely to litter and throw trash in these spaces.
Andrew, we have a question from a student wondering, what does remediation mean, or what does bioremediation mean?
Yeah, so there's two words there. We got the bio and the remediate. So what we want to do is by organic ways, take the soil that is contaminated or damaged and remediate it or make it better with healthy practices. So instead of what we can do is just go in with a dump truck and just remove all of the soil that's there and contaminated, and bring it to another site or a dump. But what we're doing is we're moving our trash somewhere else to be contaminated somewhere else. And that's expensive to do that. When we're talking about grassroots operations and getting in here and claiming these spaces in between buildings, there's not a lot of money to go in there and scoop out dirt and to replace it. So by remediating the soil, we're taking natural methods by using fungi, plants, and bacteria to make the soil more viable and healthy to grow in. I hope that kind of answers it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we found this rusty pipe in the ground, and it just brought to my attention that the ants made use of it. What is it telling us? There's something to be told about the creatures in the soil and the spaces they live in and fire. And it's very important to document, as we're just going through these slides, just documenting everything, the way it looks, the different scenes, what parts of the grass are growing healthy, what parts are dead, because there's a story to be told underneath the soil there. So as we're going through our project, we also want to take into account that we have a little bit of slope in our lot. So right here, we're doing the old a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and all these charts and stuff that I thought I'd never use in school. But guess what? I was Googling it, and I had to brush up on some of this simple basic math that a lot of us might think is useless. So we were able to find like a 9% slope here, and we're just thinking about the rainwater and how it could erode away our natural top layer of soil and things like that. We're just using pipes and string. We're using a level, very simple tools in this process. And it's good to have partners and people to look up to and people to ask questions to. So in this work, I've even had experts come and join us on the field, and I'll ask them a question. Hey, what's this plant right here? Or, what do I do in this particular instance? And they're Googling it, So a lot of our work and research throughout life, gardening, climate change, whatever you're doing in life, it is okay to not know the answer, but to know how to find it, and to research. I just wanted to, express that to you guys that it's okay to not know, and it's better to even ask to further know. Okay, so we got our site, we got our pictures, we're familiar with what's going on, we see our healthy functions, we see our problems. Now it's time to dig in. Okay, when we're digging in, we're using these protocols that NOFA had put together to observe the biology in the soil. So we simply just take like a hula hoop, place it down anywhere random in the soil, and go ahead and take a closer look at that. Okay, so when we're looking in there, we can see that there's some dead grass in there. There's a little bit of newly planted grass. Maybe the larger ones are maybe some crabgrass. We see a dandelion, which we know has a long tap root. So we're just soaking it all in. And then as we keep going in our slides, we'll see that we're going to make a hole. And then when we make this hole, we're checking for root depth. We're checking for earthworm counts. We're checking for soil aggregation. We're checking how far down the deepest roots go, just to get a measure of compaction. And as you see this here, this is a clump of soil, and we're looking for aggregates. Now, aggregates is the parts of the soil that will clump together and hold together. And you see that stuff's just falling apart. And you see also the root system here. So there's important to know the different root systems. Some have long roots, some have shallow roots, and the role that they play. That's purslane right there. Sorry, I'm just shooting things at you. I'm excited about this work, okay, guys? So purslane is a plant that's found as a weed all around the gardens, and it's edible. So you'll find in your gardens, there's actually many things that people pull out to plant other things in, which could have been harvested and eaten. We do a texture by feel procedure where we'll take the soil into our hands and we'll like kind of rub it in like a little ribbon just to see if it sticks together, or if it's clay, or if it's sandy. And we document everything we can come up with to kind of get a whole story of what our soil is like. We'll even do a slate test where we'll take a ball of aggregates, which is the soil clumped together, held together by roots and biology, and we'll put it into this water and see how much of it will fall to the bottom. Now, if a lot of it is falling to the bottom and your water is really cloudy, then that means we got a poor soil. And if the water stays more clear and the clump stays together, that means we got a real strong system of aggregates that are sticking together. We check for infiltration. We put a ring down into the soil, hammer it in a little bit, then we fill it with water and we time it to see how long it takes for that water to seep through the ground. Now, a good soil, it'll go right through here. And here's a demonstration on a project partner, Carol Roselle, has demonstrated to us like runoff and what it is to have a healthy aggregate versus a poor aggregate. And as you see, one plate has flour in it and one plate has the bread in it. Now, the bread is the healthy soil with all the aggregates and all the ingredients, the starch, everything that's keeping it together, where the flour is the poor soil and it's missing some ingredients in it. Now, when that rainwater hits that flour, it's spreading all around, it's getting messy, it doesn't hold together, and all your nutrients that you would have had in there are all spreading all around. There's Josh and Bernard, they help us out in our project in Springfield. They're great guys. Yeah, so what was that last slide again? Did I finish that thought? Yeah, so it was just about the aggregates and just make it so the bread, when you pour the water on the bread, that's gonna stick together, and you'll see explanation of what it is to have poor soil, which is loose, and a healthy soil, which is together.
I love that demonstration with the flour and the bread. It really helps you to understand it. It's really great. Sorry,
Yeah,
I didn't advance past it early. There was a question before about cover on the ground. A question about, was that local cover or just a regular cover crop that we saw earlier?
Yeah, so I don't think we got to the cover crops yet.
Okay.
This grass is just, what they had in the lawn, and they come in and they maintain it with their mowers. But cover crops is definitely part of our remediation process, as it is important to keep the soil covered. Right here, we're measuring compaction, and Josh is taking this instrument and shoving it in the ground. Oh no! So what we're doing is we're not measuring compaction per se. We found out that it's compacted by using this tool, but we're taking cores and we're sending these off to soil lab. So we use the soil lab at UMass Page Laboratory, and we also use Connecticut UConn's laboratory. And they do good with giving us an analysis on our soil to let us know our organic matter, any heavy trace minerals, our metals that might be in our soil, and magnesium contents, different phosphorus contents and things like that. Yeah, so if you can get a sample out of whatever plot you're working on and get it to the lab. It costs about $15 if you send it to UMass, and they'll get it back to you pretty promptly. This tool right here is a pentrometer, and this is the tool that we will use to measure compaction. And it just has like a tip on the end of it, and you press it down into the soil, and it'll measure pounds per square foot, I believe, to tell you how compacted the soil is. And in some places, we couldn't even get that thing in the ground. The soil was so bad. All of those protocols we had just went through, you can find them on NOFAMAS website. They are the soil carbon grower protocols. So, and they have a video of how to do the test that we had just went through if you're interested in, gauging what kind of land you'll be working with. Compost. I was fortunate enough to have a truck, and we went and we got a yard of compost for about $40. Now, I say that to highlight the fact that when you make your own compost, you're saving a trip to the place to get it. You don't have to pay for the gas. You're not having this bulldozer, do the work. We're doing the work ourselves. We're taking care of our waste, and that's what we want. That's what our goal is. But for now, we bought some compost. And that was our first advice that we had gotten from our project partners, is to compost the entire plot. We also, once we got the compost in there, we used the broad fork to kind of incorporate it into the soil. So you shove the broad fork into the soil and pull it back just to kind of break it up a little bit. That's better than using a tiller, because a tiller on a machine, as the blades roll, that bottom where the blades are hitting, it creates a compaction layer, which is we don't want.
Andrew, we have a question from the chat. What are some of the negatives of heavy metals in the soil? So why do we not want them in there?
Yeah, one of the most common heavy metals that we deal with that we find in our soil is lead. And I'm not a complete expert on the effects of lead and heavy metals, but I do know that we should only be taking in but so much heavy metals, consuming them. They're not. It's not made for us to ingest. And particularly here in the city, a lot of our houses earlier on were painted with lead paint. So that's something that we just don't want to ingest. I think that I need to do some further research to completely understand the heavy metals. But just thinking about it is, I don't want to eat that stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, and there was another question about how composting helps.
Yeah, so composting is a great way to add organic matter to your soil. So it's filled with all kinds of microbial life in it. It has some carbon in it from the wood chips and the browns that we put in our compost piles. So adding the compost to the soil will help enrich it and add some nutrients and bacteria into the soil. Can you still hear me?
Sorry, sorry, I apologize. That was me. I was just saying that we do have a couple minutes left.
Okay.
If there are more questions folks want to put in the chat, and I can also go through the slides a little more.
Yeah, I'm down for some questions. I love questions.
So let's see what there were some. I think we got through the ones that are in there. So if teachers or students want to add anything more to the chat, they can, and I'll go ahead and push through the slides a little bit as well.
Yep. Yeah, here's our team again. We had just laid the compost. I think coming up we had some cover crop coming up. There's Bernard. There's Anthony. He's our photographer. He takes really good pictures, which is also, everybody's a part of this team. So they'll have a role. Yeah, here's one of his great photos. So, it goes a long way when you can see yourself doing the work and you can feel proud about what it is that you do, which is another reason why we document everything beginning to end. Here's our team. Some of you guys will meet Sister Anna a little later today. So here's our cover crop. We got this mix from NOFA. It's a winter kill mix. There's different seeds in there.
We have a question from the chat. Andrew, how long did it take to complete the garden?
Okay, so as far as it being complete, it's a work in progress. But within a few weeks, we had gotten a lot of the testing done. The results had gotten back, and we were able to share our results as far as our photos, what's the healthy functions, what did we learn from UMass and from contest labs. And we were able to send that to our project partners who had then helped us design our garden. So since then, we had installed about 30 to 50 plants, ranging from, we gave them a plant list of things we wanted to see grown. And from that plant list, she chose which plants would work together well. Some having different, that occupy space underground, some that occupy space above ground, in different ways. To create an environment that will help the soil become more healthy.
So you have a more personal question. What's your favorite plant species and why?
Oh man, plant species. I have a love with cucurbits, if I'm saying that right. So like the family where the cucumbers and the melons and the squashes are in, and those are the ones that always have those yellow flowers, they're real bright. They attract a lot of pests. Now you would wonder why they're my favorite and they attract pests, but it's because I think there's something to learn there, about interplanting, crop rotation, and beneficial pests and bugs and insects. So it allows me a better space to, once those beetles and bugs start moving on in, how do we deal with this problem? How do we move forward and how do we mitigate the risk for next season? I think you're on mute, Dr. LaRoche.
Thank you. I keep clicking the button and then it unclicks on me. So thanks for that. So I'm going to do a couple more questions because we started a few minutes late. We do have a question about how many projects do you have going on at once? Okay,
so we have the BioRemediation project has 2 sites that we're working on. And then I also work at GTC, which is Garden in the Community, and we're doing like a total makeover on one of the sites to really get it into production state. And then on my own, I just do personal gardens and whoever will allow me to space. Like as a farmer in the city, man, I'm telling you, I don't have acres. I don't have acreage. So each plot, each backyard that I'm allowed to grow in, it could be simply a friend saying, hey, you can use my space to grow in. Now, I'll go in there and grow food, and now hopefully the neighbor will see me doing it. They're asking questions. They want to do it. The kid's coming outside. He's eating tomatoes that he says he doesn't like. Now he likes them. So that's my favorite part of my work is being able to take advantage of spaces. Like you should see the amount of food I grow in the space you can park a car. Like that little like 4x8 almost kind of space. You can really pack it in and get a lot accomplished.
Thank you. So one follow-up question, how many of the gardens have you done? I don't know if you've kept count.
Yeah, so I continuously I'm only working on about 5 right now. I had to not spread myself so thin, but I think we established 10, 12, like 10 to 12 gardens, something like that. And it's beautiful because in those gardens, like I'm saying, the neighbor now he's gardening, now he's got a space, and like so it spreads, like fire.
Great. More practical question. Is there a compost that's best, a certain material?
Yeah. Is there a compost that's best? I would say there's kind of a two-part thing because first of all, you want to use what you got, and you want to get rid of what you have in a conscious, smart way. So I mean, your food scraps, your yard waste that will usually go to the curb, and a truck's going to pick it up. Your bags of leaves. So all of these ingredients are very good ingredients for the compost, and you also want to keep a balance. You want to keep about 70% browns, and you want to keep 30% greens.
We have some of our math and science teachers have been texting about how excited they are about how much of what they teach is connected to your work. So I think we could just kind of wrap up with what's your favorite part of your job and what's your advice to students?
Yeah, all right. So I think that's like one answer right there. And my favorite part of the job and my advice to students is to not be afraid to learn. Like seriously, I get myself into even like doing these presentations. Like I don't have a lot of experience doing these presentations, but the only way to get that experience is to do it. And I think getting through these humps and the feelings of being nervous or unaware or maybe feeling not completely knowledgeable. Like it's kind of intimidating being in this field, knowing that there's an expert out there somewhere on microbe traps who might be able to offer a little bit more. But the important part and my favorite part is to teach and to learn.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I do appreciate. So students, we're going to go ahead and teachers, we're going to say thank you to Andrew Laurion, our local climate change hero. And I certainly made a few mistakes, Andrew, in our presentation today with my mute button. But I appreciate your efforts and patience with me on that. And most importantly, thank you for inspiring our students to make the connections and knowing they can make a difference, taking what they're learning in school and applying it to help their community.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. And I appreciate it. I had some conversations with some of you out there, and you guys you get it. So just keep on getting it. Just keep on getting it.
Thanks, Andrew. Take care.
Thank you.